Solange Kataquapit, Desnigason, Musnin Dushin, Paramaro, Attawapiskat member, residential school survivor from St. Anne's. I moved to Toronto back in '92, so I've been here since. And I adopted two of my cousin's babies. They're grown now, 19 and 20 years old. One's in college and the other one is just graduating high school. So everyone says I did a good job, but sometimes I say, nah, but I know I think I did. I mean, they're good kids. I buried the residential school days when I was young, and I didn't even think about residential school days till like I think Michelle was been about 4, so that would have been 2005. When I got a phone call from my friend asking her daughter needed to do an assignment. So I said, oh, looking for a residential school survivor. And out of the blue, I said, you're talking to one, and all the memories just surfaced like after that. I said, wow. My friend kept sending me messages on Messenger, but I would refuse to open it. And I seen it floating around on Facebook, but I didn't want to read it. So I just didn't bother with it until probably the next day. And I started reading it. Maybe I'll say about 6 or 7 hours later, that's when it really hit me. I could feel the heaviness coming over me, the sadness. And I could just picture my when they said under 3, I could just picture one of my siblings on that picture I sent you, sitting on a chair. And I said, my brother was only 18 months. And I'm just like thinking, how can people do this? Like, and they call themselves God or Christians, whatever. And people try to say there was no babies in here, a residential school. There was babies there. When I think about it, it's just like, it's not supposed to happen, but it did. But me and my siblings, we came home. And there's this, I want to share this story about my mom, as she shared to me, like when she was alive. She said that 3 boys took off from residential school, St. Anne's, and they went looking for them, but they couldn't find them. So in the evening, after they ate, they would wrap up the food and hang it up on the trees, hoping the boys would come back and take the food and eat, like have something to eat while they're out there in the bushes. And so when they went to bed, they would get up early in the morning again to go and check for the food, and it was untouched. So my mom said that every day they did that. I don't know how long, but I forget how long they did that, but every day they did that, like take the other food, then go hang up more food for them. But nothing was untouched. So those 3 boys were never found. So we don't know what happened to them. I just felt a lot of pain in here, like when I read that story. And I kind of like, it still bothers me because I went to the park one day just to watch the kids. And I'm just like watching the babies, the toddlers and older kids playing around. And I'm thinking, they were kids. They were just kids too, like the ones that they found. Like they didn't even have a life. They didn't even grow to be old or to be mothers and grandmothers or great grandmothers. Like they were just gone at that very young age. Yeah, it bothers me a lot. Like, and I've been going to my circles, but and the thing was too, I thought I was healing inside, but as soon as that story came up, everything just came back. I talk about it to the kids, and they know a lot about residential schools because I told them about residential schools since they were young. And I go to my my healing circles every week. Sometimes there's twice a week at the council fire. So we have Zoom meetings with the survivors, and we just talk about like what's happening, and we just talk about how we feel. Like we share a lot of stuff that we don't share to other people, how we feel and why it happened and what they're going through too. Like what I'm going through is my circle of survivors are going through the same thing. I'm angry in here too, and but I don't take it on my kids because it's not like it's not me to take it out on them when I'm like sadness but my kids know. But sometimes I doubt I have doubts because how I grew up too. Like it was just so bad because my mom was a residential school survivor and there was no help for them back then. But when I was growing up, I always made a promise to myself I would never like do a lot of like drinking and all that, and I didn't. I always made a promise that I wouldn't raise my kids the way I was raised up in an alcoholic home because my mom couldn't cope, I guess, with her bad experience with the residential school too. So I just broke that cycle, put it that way. Get them to know the history of residential schools, plus the orange shirt day, like the story to the orange shirt, how that orange shirt came along, like the story about the little girl that went to residential school. She went to and they took away her orange shirt away from her. So that's, you know the story. Yeah. And all this, the Kamloops thing, there's a lot of stories coming up now, like people that talk about the residential school, what they've seen, what they went through. A lot of bad stuff went in there, but I don't want to get into details with mine. It's too like I get too emotional if I talk about stuff that I went through in there. It was bad.